Hey, good morning, everybody. My name is Paul Welburn, and this is Faith Baptist Church Sunday School. And it is currently Saturday, December 5th, and we are not going to be having church physically in person tomorrow. We're basically not meeting in person tomorrow and also the next week. So anyway, just putting that out there as far as notifications. So if anybody is thinking about church, you'll see this hopefully today. And hopefully you got the news as far as not meeting in person, but we've been having two services to try to mitigate large crowds. And so anyway, at this point right now, it's safer just to meet virtually. So anyway, but wanted to give our lesson for today, and we're going to be looking in the book of Psalms. Psalm 116 is the actual book and chapter we're going to be looking at. But Lottie Moon Christmas offering is going on right now, so even though we aren't meeting in person, you can still give to the Lottie Moon Christmas offering. If you've never heard of Lottie Moon, you're thinking, is it some phase of the moon, waxing, waning, full, crescent, what? No, Lottie Moon was a missionary to China in the late 1800s. She was also the first, she established the Women's Missionary Union with the Southern Baptists. She was amazing, and she was born in the 1840s, and she came from an educated family. Her dad passed away whenever she was 13 in a riverboat accident in Virginia, and so she was from Virginia and near Charlottesville. Her sister became one of the first female physicians in the South, and she herself was very strong-willed, alpha female, type A, and she was somebody who basically, as a single woman, went to China and became a missionary. And ultimately, she died whenever she was around 72 years old because she was giving her food and like finances and things like that. She was personally trying to help people there in the areas of China. And when she died, she was around 50 pounds. She was a small lady anyway, but she basically died of malnutrition from her giving heart that she had. So interesting lady, look her up. Lottie Moon. Her I think her real name is Charlotte Moon, but Lottie is what she went by. That was kind of her nickname. But with her establishment of international missions, that's something. In fact, actually, whenever in the 1890s, that's whenever they started collecting money around Christmas time for international missions. So I'll put a link in the comments section of this in the description section of this video, so you can look at it further, and you can donate to the Lottie Moon Christmas offering. So we're going to be looking at Psalm 116 verses 1 through 4, written by King David. And if you're familiar with David's life, he had a lot of ups and downs. And if you know the book of Psalms, it's a collection of Psalms, and for me, it's interesting. I tend to gravitate more to the New Testament, but if you want to look at how God intervened and worked in somebody's life, especially David, remember he was an adulterer, a murderer, somebody who struggled with trusting in God as far as he took a census later on in life, and that was one of the major great sins that was listed in the Bible that he did. People don't realize that, so you're thinking, okay, take a census as far as collecting information about how many people are in your kingdom. Well, he wanted to see how big his kingdom was. He didn't trust God in the sense of God said, relax, I have your kingdom in my hand. And David wanted to see how big his kingdom was, and so that was a sin. So anyway, the sin was not trusting in God, not taking the census itself, but not trusting in God. So David, very flawed, but he's somebody that God used, and if you know the origins of the nation of Israel, they look to King David as their one of their forefathers, one of their main heroes, historic heroes that were part of the establishment of Israel itself. So a little bit of context, but if you've had ups and downs in life and challenges, there's it's so many, it's more than I can list, and I don't want to get too much into the details of it, but just this week I heard of somebody that actually lost a pet, and it was devastating. And if you've had a fur baby, this is a dog in this case. I'm a cat person, but this was a pet dog of somebody at work, it's tough. It's devastating, especially when you've invested that much time and love, and you get into a routine where you expect to see that pet in this case each day, but also people. We invest and we have loved ones that are with the Lord now that we had a daily routine with, and so we've had times of grief. Other things affect us too, and there's just, again, I could go into a list of things, but you're viewing this and you know. So David had gone through setbacks. He had had major family trouble. His own son had tried to kill him, and one of his generals actually killed the son that had been trying to kill King David. A lot of this was fallout and from the past, and so anyway, it was David had a lot of turmoil, a lot of family issues. So Psalm 116 verses 1 through 4, again, context. I love the Lord because he heard my appeal for mercy, because he turned his ear to me. I will call out to him as long as I live. The ropes of death were wrapped around me, and the torment of Sheol overcame me. I encountered trouble and sorrow. Then I came to the name of the Lord. Lord, save me. Sheol is something you see in the Old Testament, and it refers to basically the abode of the dead. I don't want to get too much into detail as far as theological detail, but Sheol was basically Hades and paradise were, in a sense, next to each other in the Old Testament. And again, this is theological depth I'm getting into, but the New Testament, you have, whenever Christ arose from the dead, you had basically that separation from Sheol. But that's what David was talking about, was basically where the dead went, was Sheol. And so, in the sense of heaven or hell or paradise or Hades, for those who trusted in the forthcoming Messiah, because this is Old Testament, they would go to paradise. And so David is saying this. And so, whenever you have grief like this, how do you wrap your grief, whether it's loss of a loved one or if it is a setback with employment or even finances, as far as all of a sudden you had a sump pump go bad and it's, $1,200 later, you're thinking, goodness, okay, I needed that for something else for Christmas. So, what do you do? How do you handle that? How do you wrap that grief and that sorrow into trusting in God and not trying to trust in your own ways? And that's what David was saying in those few passages there. Let's continue in Psalm 116, verses 5 through 9. The Lord is gracious and righteous. Our God is compassionate. The Lord guards our inexperience. I was helpless, and he saved me. Return to your rest, my soul, for the Lord has been good to you. For you, Lord, rescued me from death, my eyes from tears, my feet from stumbling. I will walk before the Lord in the land of the living. Remember, King David had stumbled as far as his walk with the Lord, and gosh, I'm using church terms right now, but basically he'd had failures. So when you see the word stumbling, that means failures. And he had experienced near death, and he had times, and he knew there was going to be upcoming times where he, being king, was at the top, and so people would come after him. He just knew that it was just part of life. And I've had several friends this week that are going through times of just struggle because of work stress. If you are a school teacher right now, you are going through school or work stress. It is something that is just, you don't get any breaks, you don't get any sleep, you are constantly working. So a shout out for teachers and what they're doing right now. They don't get enough credit. Also, a friend of mine is at another hospital, and if you're in healthcare right now, especially if you're involved in what's happening with COVID, it's real. It's not something made up by vaccine makers or testers or whatever. This is real, and so it is wearisome. And if you know anybody that's working in that field, it seems like right now it's like, okay, when is it going to end, or what's going to happen? Especially right now, data is showing some challenging data right now, and so you may not be going through the actual, like an event where it's just like, okay, I can look back and see this was a hard setback, but right now you may be going through some really tough times of being just very tired, and it's Christmas, with all the expectations that happens with that. So anyway, God is compassionate, and his if you know, great is thy faithfulness, that song is his compassions fail not. Psalm 116, verses 15 through 17. The death of his faithful ones is valuable in the Lord's sight. Lord, I'm indeed your servant. I am your servant, the son of your female servant. You have loosened my bonds. I will offer you thanksgiving sacrifice and call on the name of the Lord. He's talking about his lineage, his family lineage. We've been servants to you, Lord, through our lives. And so David is saying, okay, and I need to trust in God right now. I can't change things. I can't do anything about it. And so, what are some of the benefits in trusting and thanking God during times of grief, during times of setback, during times of struggle? What's the alternative? Anger and bitterness? And that's real too. That's normal to experience that. But as far as long term, as far as looking at, okay, past this or next year, there's a Christmas song called "Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas," and look up the original version by Judy Garland, 1944. It was written during World War II. In a year we'll all be together. And if the fates allow, I might want to change if the Lord allows or as the Lord allows. But the song basically is saying, it's going to get better. We're going to get through this. And it's a secular song. It's not a Christian song that you would hear sang in churches or whatever. But anyway, just wanted to give this encouragement. Psalm, think about King David, what he had been through, and how he was trusting in the Lord. And at this moment, whenever he was writing this, there was still a lot of uncertainty of how his life would unfold or what would happen. And so anyway, also don't forget the Lottie Moon Christmas offering. There's a lot of missionaries that are in foreign countries right now that are facing uncertainty, or how are they going to do financially, or is there going to be enough supplies to help them with their ministry with people that are sick and need help. So Lottie Moon Christmas offering, I will put that in the description of this video. Thanks everybody for joining. Hope you have a great week ahead.